Yeah. I'm sure that before they felt a bit uncomfortable and regretful at having to sack you, but now that you've dropped your guts in a branded mug and walked out of here with a shitty arse, I'm sure now they're like, oh no, we fired the psychopath. Bugger. When I was about 29, I worked for a French investment bank, and one of the things they were really great at was waving rainbow flags and saying the word diversity. They'd put it on their corporate values and their human resources pamphlets.
Diversity, inclusion. The difference is our differences.
They were certainly good at those words, but one of the other things they were truly unrivaled at was hiring mostly French white men. Which is cool, you know? Stick to what you're good at. Play your strong suits. For example, I am not good at biting my lip, and so I don't. So what I do is I say shit, like right now, when I tell you that this French investment bank was Société Générale. I think I can say that because I did work there and these things happened. I'm Aid. I worked at Société Générale. These are my stories. Now, I don't think I can get sued for saying what happened when I worked somewhere, because it's basically whistleblowing, right? Jesus Christ, that is the most egocentric, self-blowing interpretation of what I'm doing here. Telling you salacious stories that I think you might give a fuck about under the misselling of selfless public service. I just felt I had to speak out, whatever the personal cost. About a poo? Really? When's your flight to Ecuador? Now, before I start, let me preface this story by saying I love French people. They are all excellent, without any exceptions whatsoever. This isn't a francophobic video. There are no bad French people. None. That is just a fact. The Charlie Hebdo killers were just comic book fans who wanted to improve the artistic direction of the publication. Now, did they take it too far? Absolutely. Anyway, in the UK, we occasionally subscribe to this childish caricature of the French, and it goes back centuries. You know, the stinky, arrogant French. Now, I will say this. I've never met a stinky Frenchman. They've always all been passably clean. As a quick side note, I did have this one flatmate who was so bad he made everyone else smell bad. And I know that sounds weird, but what I mean by that is he would leave his clothes inside the washing machine all weekend. Like, it would finish the cycle and then he would just leave them there. They would just sit there in the chamber, all creased up and damp, but most importantly, nobody else could do any fucking laundry. Consequently, we would all be walking around in dirty, stained clothes at dates and dinner parties while he was off out doing whatever the fuck it was he did all weekend. Now, you turn a blind eye the first couple of times, you know? Maybe he's diagnosed. Maybe he's on medication. Maybe he just lacks the cognitive ability to be able to manage a washing machine and a wardrobe. And so what he's doing is washing his clothes, leaving them in the chamber, and then just whenever he needs a clean shirt, he pulls one directly out of the washing machine and puts that on. Maybe that's just the best he can do. But after the 5th or 6th time that you're forced to go on a date in a crusty, creased up t-shirt, I don't know, I think that's the point you move from passive aggressive to massive aggressive. So I pulled his soggy ball of clothes out of the chamber into a basket and later learned that this was a breach of personal boundaries. You touched my underwear! I mean, I explained that Invasion of Space was an interesting read of hogging a communal one, and then I said that we had two options. Either he wears clothes that are a bit damp, or I go into the office wearing dirty, creased, stained, smelly clothes, and all of my colleagues come to the conclusion I'm leading some druggy, ne'er-do-well lifestyle, which I was, but all the more reason not to draw any fucking attention to it. So damp clothes, or me looking terrible. I told him it was his decisions that were deciding whether or not I looked presentable or not, and that he was basically like the world's shittest makeover artist. Then he spat something in French to me, which I chose to misinterpret as, please educate me on my English swearing aid, and so I did. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so there was that guy, and he was French. But anyway, let's try and stay on point with this story, right? So let's get to the shit in the cup, right? I was working in this French investment bank, and there's wall-to-wall French guys. I'm in the HR department, in recruitment, and I'm on a performance improvement plan, or PIP. And that is an important part of this story. Now, if you don't know what a performance improvement plan is, it's basically when they tell you that your performance has been poor or substandard, and they give you some key areas that you need to work on where you've fallen short of expectations. And then daily, they go through this same litany of things you fucked up at, emails you've not sent, why didn't you do this? They check your emails and reports with a fine-tooth comb. They bollock you for one thing, they make notes of others, and if things don't go perfectly in this daily meeting, well then things are going to progress to the next stage of the disciplinary process, right? You didn't do this right, we would have expected more from this, you haven't hit targets, stop sniffing Sandra's hair. And they call them performance improvement plans, right? But like, it's illegal to just immediately fire someone, right? For no reason. You're not allowed to do that. Unless you've like molested a receptionist or stolen something, you know. But if you're just a bit shit at your job, then it's this. This daily, humiliating Piers Morgan life stories kind of setup that will eventually result in you exiting the company. It's just a slow, drawn-out process. I mean, they say it's not them trying to fire you, but performance improvement plans only came about after they made it illegal to just immediately fire you. So it's kind of transparent. Like, the whole thing is a fucking pantomime. You know they want you out, they know they want you out. They've probably decided who they want to replace you already, but daily you have to go through this list of fuck-ups again and again. A performance improvement plan that's basically like, it's like your wife sitting you down and going, I already know the name of the guy that I want to fuck instead, but here's a list of reasons why you're shit. So this day is one of those catch-ups, and it's grueling. Just a belittling, condescending, professional mauling. And when you have one of those meetings, where's the first place that you go after you spent half an hour sat in a room going, oh, I just need to get the fuck out of here and away from this prick? You go to the toilet, right? You just have a dump and slump. Just lock yourself in the cubicle, shit, cry, and recover. So I go straight to the gents. There's 3 cubicles, 3 doors. Door number 1, engaged. Somebody's in it. That's what engaged means. Door number 2 is vacant. Wide open door, but there's piss all over the seat and all over the floor. Then we get to door number 3. And door number 3 is vacant, but the door is just slightly ajar. So I walk up and just gently push it open. And like a prize being revealed from some terrible Japanese game show, sat atop the toilet is a shit in a cup. Just sat there. Just Mr. Whippy poo in a Society Générale mug. And I stood there, mouth open, aghast, shocked. And my bar is pretty high, you know? Like, I once saw a woman in Tooting Broadway drop her trousers and take a shit in the street in broad daylight, right? So I mean, like, I've seen some things. I really have. But even though this was sort of technically, geographically, in a gent's toilet, somehow it felt more obscene. And to this day, I don't know who did it. Like, who would do that? Who would do that sort of dirty protest? And what kind of day must they have had to make them go, yeah, I think I know the appropriate response to this? I mean, I was having a bad day professionally in that bank, but it would never occur to me to take that course of action. Like, why would you shit in a cup? Like, what were the other options on the list that you rejected for this one to be greenlit? And there's no way that nobody out there knows who did this or why they did it. You know, if you do something like this, you're doing it for the brag of it. It's the sort of thing that you do for the story, you know, so you could tell your mates about it later. You're doing it in the moment, not because the moment calls for it, or because you're impulsive, or even that you think that you should, or that it's going to solve a problem or anything. You're doing it solely so you can retrospectively enjoy telling people about it later. As you curl it out, you're pre-enjoying the prospect of future you gaining some social collateral or something as the zany cup shitter. Yeah, I hate my boss so bad. You'll never guess what crazy thing I did. I'm such a card. I reckon the psychological profile of the type of person who would do something like this in their place of work is probably male, aged between 20 and 30, probably a bit of a narcissist, attention seeker, had probably had a bad day, and it wasn't me. Even though I was 28 or 29 at the time, and I definitely fit the profile, it was not me. It wasn't me because it wouldn't make sense for me to be the guy that does that. That is too mentally ill for me. That is like... Yeah, man, I hate my boss, so you know what I did? What did you do? I took a shit in the gents. But I didn't even do it in the toilet. Oh, wow. What, you shat all over the floor? No, I took a mug with the company name on it and I carefully shit into that. That is psychopathic behaviour. If somebody tells you that they excused themselves from their desk or their meeting to go and drop their guts in a branded mug in a show of symbolic vitriol, you need to cut all ties with that person. That person is going to wait until you're sleeping, cut your face off, wear it, pretend he's you, and try to fuck your wife. But it doesn't make sense either, because it's not like whoever you're mad at, like the director of finance or your program manager, is going to get the call about the cup. Or they're going to be like, ah, merde. I was just about to buy a Bentley and do coke off a hooker's tits, but you say there's a cup that needs cleaning. Work comes first, Pierre. No, it's going to be some minimum wage cleaner woman who you're now passing the bad day baton to. I mean, whoever did put the call in, it must have been like, yeah, could you send somebody up to the 3rd floor, please? Yeah, why? What's... there's a poo in a coffee cup. There's a what? A coffee cup with shit in it. Sir, are you sure it's not Starbucks? So who was it? I mean, I will say this, for a bank predominantly filled with white Frenchmen, this doesn't feel like a French thing. This feels like an English thing. This feels like something an English man would do. English men are the reason that banks like Societe Generale don't take diversity seriously. Because as soon as anyone says, should we maybe try to be more diverse, then, I don't know, Jean-Claude pipes up like, no, we're not trying to be diverse again. Like, do you remember what happened when we hired 2 English people? Yeah, people started shitting in cups. So stop fucking around, give the job to Pierre, and shut the fuck up. And the English and French, we're just very different anyway. Like, you see it when you go on holiday, right? French people, you know, walk around, trying the food, and taking pictures with like a little cute European camera. Whereas English men on holiday, I mean, we don't need to go there, and the locals wish we hadn't. So I don't think it was a French guy. And here's the thing, right? This was on the 3rd floor in human resources, and in HR, there's lots of very sensitive information and personal information. It has to be guarded. It has to be very secure. So you can only get in there with a door pass that's upgraded or with a special code, right? And HR departments tend to be almost entirely female. Rightly or wrongly, it is a very female-dominated industry or profession. There was only like 3 men that worked in that department on that floor. So that narrows it down quite a lot, because I don't think this was a woman. I wish this was a woman. I wish that was the reality of this story. And it was like, yeah, did you hear Natalie didn't get her bonus and she followed her boss into the gents and then maliciously excreted into his mug, maintaining eye contact the entire time? Like, I wish that was true. That'd be a great story, wouldn't it? I'd love Natalie. I really would. Although she'd almost certainly end up on a pip for that. Okay, Natalie, take a seat. Let's start from the top. Have you shat in any cups today? Okay, good. But I don't think it was a woman. And there was only 3 or 4 men in our entire department. So for a long time, I thought, well, it's probably one of my colleagues. But after a while, I came to the conclusion that it was more likely, on balance of probabilities, that this was someone who was called upstairs to HR to be fired, to be let go. And this individual felt like he was being wronged or not understood. And probably after a very unpleasant conversation with an HR business partner, as he's being marched out of the office, he turns around and says, would you mind if I just use the toilet before I go? And she's like, yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, this has been a deeply unpleasant experience for both of us, but if you want to prolong it, that's cool. She's like, yeah, if you want to ensure your bowels are empty, so you don't shit your pants after you definitely kill yourself in 9 minutes' time, go ahead. And so he walks into the gents, and in that final act of defecatory, vengeful justice, he picks up a branded mug and excretes rage. And I never told anyone about this because I never thought in a million years that you would believe that it wasn't me. If I told you that in a restricted area where only 3 or 4 men worked, and I was one of them, that minutes after my own disciplinary meeting, that somebody found a shit in a SocGen branded mug, there's no way you would believe that that wasn't me. And now I'm telling you this story, it's only occurring to me now that by not telling them that I had seen it, they obviously would have then gone on to see it. And so by me not even acknowledging it, I probably made, like, they probably all think that I shit in that cup. But now I'm just going to end this here. I'm just going to sign this video off and utter a sentence that I never thought I would say in my first Patreon exclusive. It was not me. I do not shit in cups.